welcome. This month we are dispelling false information and opening ourselves up to explore some spiritual truths about ourselves, as we usually do every week. We have one in particular this week that we are going to dispel. We're going to uncover it and we're going to dispel it. Today our focus is going to be on what I think is the mother of all false information. Interested?
Yeah.
I believe that one of humankind's biggest problems, if not our absolute biggest problems, is feeling unworthy. Feeling unworthy. The cold, hard fact is that many people simply feel unworthy. Unworthy of a happy, productive life, unworthy of being loved, unworthy of receiving God's grace, unworthy of experiencing peace and joy, unworthy of having success and abundance. If I missed anything, fill in the blanks. Just that state of unworthiness. My guess is that you might know someone. You might know someone who feels a little unworthy. So just turn to your neighbor and say, I know someone that feels unworthy. Go ahead. Well, today, I want us to end the struggle once and for all by moving into the consciousness of profound worthiness. You might want to pay extra special attention today so that you can tell your friend, whoever it may be, that that isn't the case here. That is not the case here. Feeling unworthy is a big problem, and it's a core belief of many of us. It's that core that stems out into so many other different beliefs, but it's a core, big belief, the mother belief. And one of the biggest problems today, okay, that people face is being unworthy. One of the biggest problems today is being unworthy. And if you notice, I did not say feeling unworthy. Because every single one of us, if every single one of us is worthy, there is not one person that inherently is not worthy of receiving God's grace, of being in God's grace, because what has created us? It's this oneness of life. It's this creative energy. It's this force that we call God. And it doesn't matter what we were told or were not told. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we were treated or not treated. It doesn't matter whether we were abused or abandoned. What we ourselves might have done or have not done, none of that truly, really matters. Because inherently, at the core, the seed, the very essence of who we are is worthiness. We are worthy to experience all good all of the time. And that is the real truth, the absolute truth. So let me try to make this real and concrete. So I'm going to have a little demonstration here. I have a $50 bill, because I gave all my $100 bills to the workman yesterday. So I was going to do it with a $100 bill. So we're going to do it with a 50. Still the same thing. So I take this $50 bill, and it has value, yes? It's money, it has value. And so I crumple it up, and I just throw it on the floor, and I stomp on it. Does it change the value of this being $50? No. And even if I really, and I'm supposed to spit on it, but I'm not going to do it. Spit it, throw it on the floor, and stomp and ground on it. Does it change it? No. Does it still have value?
Yes.
Well, I want you to know something about this bill. This bill has been used to purchase a gun and kill someone. This bill has been used to bribe a politician. This bill has been used to introduce a 10-year-old, rolling it up, on how to snort cocaine. That's what this bill has been used for. Now what do you think about this bill? And I bet you, if this $50 bill could talk, okay, it would tell us it's not feeling worthy right now. I'm quite sure it would tell us it feels dirty and broken and guilty and unhealthy. I'm sure that that's what this would tell us, and certainly not very valuable at all. No self-worth in this. I mean, look at the way it's been treated. Beat up, stomped on. Look at what it's done in life, in its circulation, yes? And yet the truth is that its worth has not diminished one bit. It is still a $50 bill. I can still use this for an exchange. The same is true with each and every one of us. We've made mistakes in life. We've gone through things in life. We might have been stepped on and troubled and abused and abandoned, and we might have made some mistakes that really didn't serve our highest good in life. But the truth is, our worthiness and our worth is still powerful, and it's still the same. Ernest Holmes wrote in this thing called You. You can desecrate, but never lose the divine spark. It is always there. Your spirit already is perfect, he writes, an individualized center in the consciousness of God. God has made you out of himself. The only material he had was the substance of his own being. The only mind he had to implant with was his mind. The only spirit he had to implant was his own spirit. And that is the spiritual truth. I substitute him for it. I put it in there instead. But that was on Ernest Holmes. And the main point is the spiritual truth is that you are intrinsically worth as much as this $50 bill. And so much more. So much more. The beauty, the value, the worthiness of really who you are cannot be destroyed or tarnished in any way, only by our own thinking. Only by our own thinking. Some of us believe, right before we incarnated, right before we came into this human experience, that we go through this standing line. So we're all lined up, right? As souls. So all these souls are lined up and stand in this long line, waiting for God, who walks by like the general inspector with two big stamps. And one stamp says worthy, and the other stamp says unworthy. We think, some of us think, that God walks along stamping each person worthy, worthy, whoops, unworthy, worthy, definitely not, worthy, and stamps. So if you believe that, that is just one belief system that some people have, that they were born unworthy. That God somehow stamped them with this stamp of unworthiness. Or if you have a religious view or were brought up, possibly in the Christian tradition, their view is that you are born in original sin. Yes? So that means, and we were brought up believing this if you were in the Christian tradition, that every baby born is born in sin. It's a sinful being, right there. Day old, minute old, sinful. That's why I love religious science, and I think that's why you are here today to hear this word and to be in these teachings and to be in that foundation class, because religious science believes that we were born in innocence. We were born in perfect, pure innocence. Beautiful beings of light and love. That's what this spiritual teaching is all about. It's not about coming in right away. off the boat. It's like they, when you come through your mother's womb, and right away, they shoot you up with all the injections and everything to immunize you from all of these diseases. And then, if you were in that whole tradition, you were then taught what a sinner you were. Well, gosh, I wonder why we might feel a tiny bit unworthy. And that doesn't include all the other stuff that goes on in life. What people say, things we go through.
Yes.
Happens all the time. Original innocence. We were born in original innocence. And hear these words again of Ernest Holmes. I love Ernest Holmes. We all love Ernest Holmes. He's the founder of Science of Mind, Religious Science. Your spirit already is perfect, an individualized center in the consciousness of God. God has made you out of himself, which is perfection, by the way. The only material he had was the substance of his own being. The only mind he had to implant was his own mind. The only spirit he had to implant was his spirit. And from the Bhagavad Gita, God is flawless and the same in all. Therefore, all persons are established in the one. And we're always going to, I know Stephen's going to do it afterwards, because it's about a unified field of oneness that we all live in, and each one of us is connected. It just looks like we're separate because we use our senses, but we are not. Our essence are all connected right in this room. It's a web. It's like a web of perfection and worthiness. So please hear this this morning. God does not come around and stamp unworthiness on the foreheads of souls who are ready to come into this life expression. It never happened, and it never will happen. It never will happen. But somewhere along the line, we stamped ourselves. We stamped ourselves unworthy. And yes, it's true. We may have had a little help along the way. No, I didn't. Had a lot of help. And God, I found this spirituality that tells me I'm perfect. That I'm a loving expression of the one life of God. How wonderful is that? And people that call religious science a cult, well, welcome to this cult of love. Because this is an empowering spirituality. This is really empowering because it teaches us to be the best me that each one can be. It's wonderful. But we might have been told something that helped, by which we were told or not told by, maybe it was our religious upbringing, or how we were treated or not treated. Or it could have been things that we have done that we regret. That's why we're having the radical forgiveness. That's why it's packed. That's why Carol and I are doing the radical forgiveness class. There is no more room in that class. It's full. Because we forgive ourselves. We don't hold on to stuff we've done. We let it go. We let it go so we can shine our bright lights. We all have one. We all have a light to shine. Each one, 100-watt bulb. 100-watt bulb. Ultimately, somewhere along the line, we have made up a story. Because that's what we do. We make up stories. We made up a story that we are unworthy. And then from that story, we acted it out. And from acting it out, what does the law do? It responds. It gives us back what we are acting out. So it's giving us back that unworthiness in every situation in our lives. That's why it is so key for us to change our thinking, change our life. Start really deepening into the fact how we deserve all the good that we can possibly get. We deserve it as heirs to the kingdom of the divine. Spiritual author and poet Thomas Merton once said, "Others can give you a name or a number, but they can never tell you who you really are. That is something you must yourself discover from within. Feeling unworthy is a result of the story you've been told about yourself. Feeling unworthy is not a fact. It's not a fact. It's a story you have made up. It's not the truth. It's just a story. And we can always change our story anytime we choose. We've been given choice. You choose. When you choose to see yourself broken or perfect for whatever it is, for your unique purpose. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a water bearer who had two big pots and one of those sticks that hold the pots up, right? One of the pots had a crack in it, and while the other one was absolutely perfect, and always it delivered a full jug of, a full pot jug of water, as the man was carrying this from the stream on the long walk up to the owner's house where he would deliver the water. So the cracked pot always arrived half full. For 2 years, this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots of water to his master's house. So of course, the perfect pot was very proud of his accomplishment. Perfect to the end, and doing the job that it was made to do, full pot. But the poor cracked pot, I know it's weird. Like me. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Have a little compassion for this poor cracked pot. Because this poor pot was ashamed of itself, its own imperfection, and miserable that it was only able to accomplish half of its job, while the other great pot could do the whole thing. And it spoke one day to the water bearer. And it said, I am ashamed of myself and not worthy to be carried on your shoulders. I want to apologize to you for that. And the man said, what are you ashamed of? And the pot said, for these past 2 years, I've only been able to deliver 1/2 of my load because of this crack in my side, and the water leaks out all the way back to your master's house. Because of my flaws, you have to do all the work, and you don't get the full value of my being, of my efforts. The water bearer had great compassion for the pot and said, as we return to the master's house, I want you to notice all the beautiful flowers along the pathway there. So they went up the hill toward the house, and the old cracked pot took notice of the sun that was warming and looking at the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the road. And it cheered up the pot some, but then it returned to its old sadness, feeling bad, feeling half worthy. And so again, the pot apologized to the bearer for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, did you notice the beautiful flowers were only on your side of the road, going up to the master's house? And that's because I've always known about your crack, and I took advantage of it. I planted seeds, wildflower seeds, all the way up to the owner's house, the master's house. And every day when we walk back to that house, you have been watering them. And I have been able to gift the master with beautiful flowers for his table every day. So I thank you for being who you are. That which we may perceive, and it's a perception, to be our greatest flaws or failures are probably our greatest gifts, but we don't know it, we don't recognize it. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. There's a book written by Stuart Wilde, The Little Money Bible, and he has a whole chapter on moving out of ego into spiritual truth. He says in it that we must come to the metaphysical truth of our divine specialness. I know Course in Miracles doesn't do that, but we do. Divine specialness. We are special. Each one of us unique unto ourselves. And this is not in an egotistical manner. Rather, it is in the way, it is in the idea of accepting the infinite beauty of who we are. It's wonderful. It's special. It's wonderful. And someone said, oh, Barry, about it's the inside, loving who we are. Because that loving who we are, and if you're not up to that point yet, like who you are. Start with liking yourself. Move to loving yourself. And then as you move into that, that's the deserving of all the worth, the good that you can possibly embody. Because that's expressing your true self. It really is. And it is my deepest, most heartfelt desire that each and every one really connects and sees who they are. A child of the divine, created out of divine substance. And there's an infinite beauty within each and every one. And it is my deepest desire that you not only see this, but that you feel it. You feel that divine love within you, because it's there. It is there. So stop judging so harshly. We judge ourselves, do we not? We judge ourselves. Move into that place of infinite beauty and specialness that is the truth of who you are. Because when we do these, when we judge ourselves and think we are so unworthy, what happens is the behaviors that we then are exhibiting are less than life-affirming. Much less than life-affirming. They will, as we move into self-like and self-love, these other behaviors will no longer fit. They won't feel good. And when something doesn't feel good and you become aware of that, you become aware of your feelings, wake up, become aware, your feelings have the intelligence, will guide you. And the old behaviors will no longer fit or serve you, and they will just cast aside. They will just cast aside because they are inconsistent with the new awareness that you have of how worthy you are. So now the thing is, I have said all of this before. I say it every week about our worthiness, our goodness, that God is good. The problem is we haven't really believed it fully, down to the core of our being. So now we're going to try a different tactic this morning. And I trust, I really trust that you will put this issue of unworthiness to rest once and for all. And you may or may not know this about me, but I am an ordained worthiness minister. And this is my very special, very sacred, it's consecrated. This is the worthiness scepter. This is very important. And I'm going to do a sacred ceremony. And this is usually done on a one-to-one basis. But I have been given special compensation to perform it in a group setting. So I'm going to anoint each and every one of you today, this very day, and you will then move into that place of complete worthiness, because you will have been, this is very magical, so you will have been anointed in this ceremony. And you'll never go back to feeling unworthy, even for a whole entire lifetime, never going back to this place again, moving into the place of self-love, of worthiness. So, this is the ceremony. The stories you have made up of your unworthiness are now removed from your mind, from your heart, and from your life by the power vested in me as an ordained worthiness minister. And through the sacred energy of the worthiness scepter, I hereby anoint You, each and every one of you, worthy, worthy of all your good now and forevermore. Okay. I want you to hold your head high in life. You have had your inherent worthiness anointed. You are unique and glorious, magnificent expression of the Most High. And to prove that, I have a song that I am not going to sing. I'm going to read it, so that's perfect, Stephen. You might have heard this song before. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to each and every one here. It's for each one. Take it in as your own. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love you just the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's so easy to love you. Behind the fears, the rage, your tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love myself the way I am. And still, I want to grow. But change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way